G'day cocktail lovers, I hope you're keeping well, I hope things are going well for you, I hope events are moving in a way that makes you happy or at least relieved. Depending where you are, that may mean different things. Here in Melbourne, we are gradually being relieved of restrictions that we had in place to control COVID, which was done mind-blowingly successfully. We went from having more than 700 cases a day in the city to now we're up to 8-9 days in a row with no new cases and no deaths. So the restrictions are being lifted, which is nice. I know in other parts of the world it's getting quite dire. Send you all the best. I don't know what else to say because I know it is quite dire in some parts of the world. And hey, maybe if you are in one of the places where you are going into potential lockdown, you want a new idea for a drink, I've got one for you. Often when I'm making cocktails on this channel, I will say I've never made them prior to making them for the channel. I do that a lot because I kind of think it's fun. You know, you can see my reaction live the first time I try it. This one I road tested because I was surfing various websites looking for inspiration, and one site I get a lot of inspiration from is the Difford's Guide website run by Simon Difford. Very long experience working bars and running bars, and it's a really good website for cocktail recipes and a little bit of history as well, and explaining a lot of the ins and outs of making cocktails besides just having good cocktail recipes. And I found one that I just love the sound of. He calls it a Madeira-ized Old Fashioned Godfather. Now, the Old Fashioned is one of my favorite cocktails. Dead simple, and just little tweaks can give it a whole different character, like using different whiskies, different bitters, and in different levels. And if you don't know what a Godfather is, simplify it. A Godfather is basically an Old Fashioned with a nut-flavored liqueur, usually an almond-flavored liqueur like amaretto. So this cocktail on the Difford site was a hybrid of an Old Fashioned and a Godfather, and added Spanish Madeira wine. So he called it a Madeira-ized Old Fashioned Godfather. And I looked at it, and what struck me is he actually split the base. And if you're not familiar with that term, that means, like, say, a recipe says 2 ounces of a particular spirit. If you make up that 2 ounces by using different makes of the same named spirit, that's called splitting the base. In this case, instead of using one whiskey to make it, he actually split it among 3 whiskies. He recommended Rittenhouse Rye, 100 proof, a bourbon, and a Scotch. And I was looking at it going, oh, I like the sound of this, and I've got some Rittenhouse Rye. And I thought, you know what else I've got? I also have a 100 proof bourbon I recently picked up, and a 100 proof Australian whiskey that I really like. So I thought, those are the 3 whiskies I'm going to use. And I don't have Madeira wine, I'm not a wine drinker, but I do have various vermouths. And so I taste tested. I made it first with a sweet vermouth, and which I thought I'd like the most because I have a bit of a sweet tooth. And then I tried it again with a drier vermouth, and I actually preferred it with the dry vermouth. So I have taken this Difford's recipe as a starting point and then made it my own. So I give it my own name because with the vermouth, it takes on the qualities of a Manhattan with whiskey and vermouth. So I declare this, which I'm now going to make, to be an Old Fashioned Godfather in Manhattan. So let's go. First, the Rittenhouse Rye, a 100 proof rye whiskey. So a higher alcohol than standard for whiskies, which are normally around 40%. And if you've not really gotten into rye whiskies, they're a bit spicier than a bourbon is, and it's a good contrast. So I'm going to start with half an ounce of Rittenhouse Rye. This is the bourbon I picked up recently, Knob Creek 100 proof, and I picked it up just because it was on a really good special. I thought, well, this is a bit of an upmarket bourbon. I often get cheaper ones because I'm just using them in cocktails. But this one, as soon as I took the stopper off, there's a wonderful aroma. It is a really nice bourbon, and it's 100 proof as well. So we're going half an ounce, 15 mils of the bourbon. From here on, the drink gets quite Australian, starting with an Australian whiskey from Starward, a local distillery, like literally a couple suburbs down the road from me. This is the first time they have done 100 proof single malt whiskey. They called it Fortis, which means strength, and I have almost finished the bottle because it's really good. Fear not, viewers, fear not. I have actually ordered some more from Starwood. They actually have a limited edition higher proof whiskey coming out. I should have that early next week, so you may see me making a cocktail or cocktails with it in the coming week. But I still have a bit of Fortis left, 100 proof single malt whiskey, and like the others, half an ounce, 15 mils. In place of amaretto or another almond liqueur, I'm using an Australian macadamia and wattle seed liqueur called Mac. Obviously, if you're not in Australia, you're going to find this hard to get. Like I said, any nut liqueur, you can get hazelnut liqueurs, almond liqueurs. Find something you like, give it a bit of nutty quality. Same quantity as the other spirits. We're going half an ounce, 15 mils of our nut liqueur. Final ingredient is vermouth. I'm using an Australian vermouth from Maideneye. They're classic, so this is their semi-dry. They have a dry, a sweet, and a classic. And as I said, I did actually compare with sweet vermouth and the drier vermouth, and I thought it was better with the drier vermouth. So unless you have a really sweet tooth, I think this sort of flavour profile is going to work better with a dry vermouth. Or if you happen to have Madeira wine, follow the Difford's Guide and actually use Madeira wine. For me, I'm going vermouth, half an ounce, 15 mils. Given this is an all booze cocktail, you probably won't be surprised to hear it stirred rather than shaken. So we do just want to chill. Little bit of dilution, won't go astray with 300 proof whiskies in there. So stir it for about 30 revolutions, 15-20 seconds. Now we're ready to strain it into the glass with my lovely clear ice, making it pretty much a perfect fit for this rocks glass. I almost forgot, for whiskey drinks, particularly in the old-fashioned vein, a strip of orange peel expressing the oils over the drink makes an incredible difference. I rarely bother with garnishes when I'm making drinks for myself, but particularly in the old-fashioned realm, definitely a spritz of orange on top, express the oils onto the drink. And I'm not going to be too fussy with presentation. Just wipe it around the glass to get those orange aromatics and slide it into the glass. Looking very whiskey-like, hardly a surprise. Yep, I'm just getting the orange oils. I'm not really smelling the whiskey. But here we go. Oh, the combination of flavors in this. I think it's probably only in the last 12 months I've started to really get into the old-fashioned, and I've tweaked it with various things, and I found just a little splash, anywhere from like 5 to 15 mils of virtually any liqueur gives an interesting twist on an old-fashioned. The Godfather is a well-established one, so a nutty liqueur with whiskey is tried and true. This one with the vermouth as well, it's really complex, and you've got the rye, the bourbon, and the Australian single malt in here. So while they're related, they're distant cousins. They've got their own characteristics. The Australian whiskey is matured in wine barrels, whereas one of the rules with bourbon is they have to be matured in new oak barrels. So bourbon and rye tend to be sharper than a whiskey that's matured in wine barrels. So that smoothness and extra fruitiness of the Australian single malt with the bourbon and the rye, the nut liqueur, the Maideneye vermouth, I recommend this one really strongly. Clearly, you have to like a boozy drink. Some people simply can't. You might grow into it as time goes by. That would be my recommendation. If you think, oh no, I just can't drink whiskey, try find recipes for a whiskey mixed with a liqueur, particularly say a fruit liqueur, can ease you in a little bit and awaken your whiskey taste buds. I feel like that's happened to me in about the last 12 months. I liked whiskey as a mixer in cocktails, but in the last 12 months, I've come to really appreciate incredibly whiskey forward cocktails. So yeah, look, I know I'm coming into spring, moving into summer here in Australia. I know in the Northern Hemisphere, people are moving into the autumn weather towards winter, and whiskey is very much a favoured drink moving into that time of the year. You could do a lot worse than this one, I tell you. This is a particularly tasty one, and it gives you lots of room for experimenting and substituting with the different whiskies, the liqueur, the wine or fortified wine. You know, you've got a palate to start with. There's a lot you can do with it. I hope you do. I hope you let me know if there's a riff like this that you know, and I hope you come back for some more. So if you're not already subscribed to the channel, it would be great if you did. Hey, even tell your friends, you know, let's have a party in here. It's all about having a good time. Hit the little bell, it gives you notifications when I upload. And yeah, let me know where you sit on the old-fashioned riff spectrum, because I'm starting to enjoy it more and more. Hope you do too. Hope you enjoyed the video. I hope to see you again soon. Again, please do your best to stay safe, look after yourself. It's a complex and stressful world out there right now. Need to look after ourselves, need to look after each other. Take it as easy as you can. I hope to see you again soon, but for now, I'll say cheers.